Hello and welcome to our yoga class. My name is Vanessa. I'm here to support you for the rest of your practice. Thank you for opening up this video and working on your physical, mental, emotional bodies. So we'll begin class by laying on our back. So take a few moments to make any adjustments here. Find that comfort as you stretch your legs out. Notice the points in which your body touches the mat, back of the head, all the way down to your heels. And then start gathering some purposeful and intentional breaths. I like to emphasize the word gathering. It's a process. You don't automatically arrive. You're in that process of gathering intentional breaths, inhaling, ribcage expands, belly expands, exhale, noticing that release. As a reminder, we are working not only on our physical well-being, but our mental and emotional well-being as well. Inhale, ribcage expands, belly expands. Exhale, notice that release. Our breath is our focusing tool throughout the class. You want to return to the breath as you're exploring the poses. As you're working on your flexibility, endurance, balance, any variation or of those aspects. I recommend inhaling, exhaling, sighing out, releasing tension from earlier in the week, earlier in the day. Notice by welcoming your breath, you're welcoming your experience. You're welcoming yourself to your practice. Inhale. And exhale. On the following inhale, lift your right leg up towards, or lengthen your right leg. You're gonna take your hands right behind your thigh, so the sole of that right foot faces the ceiling. We'll take a moment here to rotate our right foot, opening the ankles, the toes, the heel. And then start to focus on lengthening your leg, bringing your thigh closer towards your belly and chest. It could be a subtle shift. You can invite a small bend to that right knee. Try not to lock the knee. And now you can hold here or drop your leg towards the left, towards the right to support you in a deeper stretch there around the hamstrings and hips. You can sway back and forth or just hold in position. Belly expands, you can exhale, sigh out. Use your breath to support you as you're working on this flexibility. Now you want to lengthen that left foot, that left leg, simultaneously as you're focusing on your right leg. By lengthening that left leg, you're inviting some more support, some more stability, and you're activating your core. Notice where your boundary is. See if you can fold it just a little bit more. Breathe into that space. And then slowly release your foot back down towards the floor. We're gonna bend both knees, feet float off the floor. Grab your knees with your hands around your spine, forehead towards your knee, chin towards chest. And now drop your head back. Now opposite side, you're gonna lengthen that left leg, interlace your fingers right behind that thigh and hold. Inhaling. Exhaling, rotate that left foot, focusing on your ankle, heel, toes. And then start to lengthen your leg, focusing on your hamstring. Flex your right foot, lengthen that right leg. It's going to provide some more stability and more activation around the core. Now, you can bring your thigh closer towards you, or you can drop your leg towards the left and towards the right. And shift that stretch into the glutes and hips. You can focus on the hamstrings. Take whatever you need here. Inhaling deeply and exhaling deeply and intentionally. Deep belly breath. About 3 more breath cycles here. Inhale. Optional exhale, side out. Slowly release your foot back down towards the floor. This time we're going to bend both knees, both feet float off the floor. Grab your knees with your hands, round your spine, forehead up towards your knee. We're going to release tension in the neck, down the spine. And release. We'll go ahead and transition. Let's go ahead and meet in a cross-legged position. And as you settle into that cross-legged position, hands rest softly on your knees. So in order to support a long spine, I'm activating my core. My chest is open versus curved in. I'm noticing my shoulders are drawn down and my chin is neutral. By watching all those points, you naturally lengthen your spine. Inhale, deep belly breath. Exhale, gaze at one point across the floor room. That helps with concentration. Steady gaze is a steady mind. One breath. And then exhale, release. So keep your hands on your knees. We're going to bring our shoulders up towards our ears and then draw them back. And then lift your shoulders up towards your ears, draw them forward. Inhale, lift shoulders up towards your ears, draw them back. And release. Let's inhale, lift your arms up overhead, palms up towards the ceiling. Lengthen your elbows, lengthen your arms here. Stretch towards left side of the room, hold. And then back to center, opposite side. Release, come to center, release your hands. Take your left hand to grip that right knee. You're gonna twist towards the right. Chin moves towards your shoulder. Hold a twist, not your breath. And then opposite side. Chin moves towards your shoulder. Back to center, release. Start to grab either your forearms or your elbows with your hands. And then as you're doing so, you're activating that core, lengthening the spine. You might notice one shoulder might feel a little tighter than the other one. Now I recommend either closing your eyes or keeping your gaze steady across the room, finding a point to concentrate on. Let's take 3 breaths here, inhaling and exhaling. And after those breaths, release. Let's shift and take our hands right beneath our shoulders. We're shifting it to our tabletop. One of our most common transition poses is our tabletop. Here we can access many poses. One of the most important ones are cat and cow poses. Really relatively simple poses to support releasing compression in your lower back, taking care of your spine, your back. So we're going to open up into a cow pose. Let's take a moment to break down our cow pose. So our hands are always directly underneath our shoulders. Now in that cow, my chest is open, I draw my shoulders back, my chin is lifted. Shift your attention to your lower spine. You're releasing any compression there in the lower back. I'm very purposely lifting my tailbone. And now as I shift into a cat pose, I press through my palms firmly, fingertips spread wide, and I tuck my tailbone in and my chin moves towards my chest. Start to move through the poses. You can either inhale into a cow pose, exhale into a cat pose, keeping a flow, inhaling and exhaling. So that is an option. It's a way of practicing slowing down the breath, moving your body with your breath. Or you can explore that cat pose for an extra cycle of breath or 2. Same thing with your cow pose. It's all right to inhale in a cat pose. It's all right to exhale in a cow pose. However, in the context of a flow, what supports the poses the most is inhaling cow, exhaling cat. A few rounds here of your flow or holding your cat and cow. Notice what's activated for you, what's tense, what opens up, what feels great, what might not feel great. Observe, cultivate that. And you're doing that with all of the poses. How is each pose supporting you in your well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally? One more inhale and exhale. Start to lift your left leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. So as you're bending your knees, stacking your hips, you're opening your quad, you're creating a little quad stretch there, a glute and hip stretch. Now press through your palms, activate that core, knee and chin towards your chest. Press through your palms, you're rounding your spine. Release your knee. Opposite side, lift your right leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Press through your palms, round your spine, knee and chin towards chest. And release. We're going to shift down into a child's pose. Knees towards the edges of your mat. Stretch your arms out. If you ever need support for extra concentration, lengthen the length of your inhale and exhale just a little longer than you're accustomed to. And then one more breath in this child's pose. And then press your palms. We're going to lift up into our downward facing dog. Let's take a few breaths here in our down dog. Let's break this down. You're pressing through your palms, lifting your hips. You can lift your heels. Your chest moves towards your thighs. Arms and legs are active. You're breathing to the backs of your legs. And now take your gaze right between your hands. Walk or jump up to that forward fold. You're going to inhale halfway up. Slide those shoulders back. Exhale, release. Notice your heels as we ground our feet on the floor and then sweep our arms up overhead. Arms lift. And then hands in front of your heart center. Now you choose. You can either close your eyes or open your eyes. If your eyes are open, your gaze is steady across the room or the floor to one point. You're grounding your breath, inhaling and exhaling for this moment. Welcoming your breath, noticing by welcoming your breath, you're welcoming your experience. That is powerful. Inhale here, exhale. Release your hands. You're going to interlace your fingers behind you, lengthen your elbows, and then take your gaze up towards the ceiling. Remain here. Now your palms can either touch or not. Chest is open. You have your attention on your heels as well. You're grounding your heels. One more breath here. And now bend your knees, leading down with your chest, your heart, fold all the way down to that forward fold. Soften your neck, your head. Take your hands to your shins. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Second round. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Third round. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Sweep your arms up overhead. Hands in front of your heart center. Inhale here. Exhale. Release your hands, arms lift, interlace your fingers, palms face up towards the ceiling. We're gonna lift our heels halfway or all the way up. Keep your gaze steady. A steady gaze is a steady mind. It also supports you in your balance. Inhale. Exhale. Release your hands, release your heels. Let's sweep our arms up, sun salutation. Exhale, bend your knees, fold down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release the back plank pose. So as you're in that plank pose, you're lengthening your legs, heels pressed towards the back. You're pressing through your palms, lifting your core, release down towards the floor, tops of the feet onto the mat. Inhale, lifting your spine, upward facing dog, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Hold your downward facing dog. And now take your gaze right between your hands. Walk or jump up to that forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, sweep your arms up overhead. I'm going to move through 2 more sun salutations. I recommend inhaling and exhaling here, grounding and intention. And then when you're ready, inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Exhale, bend your knees, being soft with your neck, your shoulders. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release the back plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog, and then we meet at our downward facing dog. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up to that forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, sweep your arms up overhead. Hands meet in front of your heart center. Close your eyes, inhaling and exhaling, grounding and intention. Release your hands, third sun salutation, arms lift. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back, plank pose. Inhale up, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Generous breath, inhale. Exhale, this time we're gonna lift our left leg, bend our knees, stack our hips. And now left knee moves towards that left elbow, hover. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Left knee reaches towards that right elbow. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor. Take a generous breath here. We're gonna do the same thing, opposite side. Lift your right leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Right knee shifts towards that right elbow. You hover here, generous breath. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. And now right knee shifts towards your left elbow. Hover, you're pressing through your palms, activating your core. Generous breath, and then lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor and take your child's pose, releasing your knees on the mat. Knees can either be close together or towards the edges of the mat. Notice the quality of your breath. Invite an intentional breath so that you can continue to build that bridge towards physical, mental, emotional well-being. Three more breaths. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling again. Inhale. Exhale. And after 3 breaths or so, you can release the pose. We'll shift out of our child's pose back into you're gonna lift up into a forward fold. In that forward fold, we're gonna press that left hand onto the floor. Optionally, you can rest your forearm onto your thigh. You're gonna invite a generous bend to that left knee. You're going to twist and lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. Hold. You can apply some gentle pressure there on your right heel for a deeper stretch in hips and hamstrings. Don't forget to breathe in this pose. And then release. Now right hand on the floor, or you can take your forearm to rest on your thigh. Twist and lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. There's a generous bend to that right knee. Release your hand onto the mat, the floor, and then press through your heels, your feet. Inhale up. Hands in front of your heart center. Eyes closed or open. We gather our breath, noticing by welcoming our breath, we're welcoming our experience. Release your hands, two-legged balance. Or actually, no, let's go ahead and interlace your fingers behind you. Now, either palms touch or they do not. Extend your elbows, chest opens. Bend your knees, fold down towards a forward fold. Hands to shins, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Two more times, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Third time, inhale halfway up. And then exhale, release. You're going to sweep your arms up overhead. Hands in front of your heart center, generous inhale here. And then exhale, release. Now two-legged balance. We lift our arms, palms up towards the ceiling. Lift your heels halfway or all the way up and hold. Inhale. Release your hands, release. Now we'll prepare for a tree pose. We're going to take our left foot to rest on our ankle or our left heel. Now you can remain here, or you can take your foot higher. You can use your hands to support you in bringing your leg up towards your thigh. Inhale and exhale. Different positions here with your arms, your hands. Find what works for you. You want to find a point to focus on. Glutes can be active here. You're pressing your foot against your thigh. You're grounding that right heel onto the floor. Feel free to step in or out of this tree pose. Some days are a little windier than other days. Another steady breath here. And then exhale, release. Paddle your feet back and forth. Let's ground those poses. And with a chair pose, let's bend our knees, arms shoot out. We're lifting our tailbone, activating our glutes. Inhale, exhale, release. Soften your neck and head. Press through your heels. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead. Hands in front of your heart center, generous breath. Release, two-legged balance. We lift our arms up overhead. Palms up towards the ceiling. Lift your heels halfway or all the way up. Practice that steady gaze. And then release your feet. Release your hands, your arms. Paddle your feet back and forth, tree pose. Now take that right heel to rest on your ankle. Start to ground your left heel, your left foot onto the floor. Now you can lift using your hands. Lengthen your spine. Find position with your hands, your arms. Explore this pose, see what comes up. Notice that paradox, so we're both still, yet there's a lot of movement in our bodies as well. You want to notice that paradox in our bodies. The movement and stillness coexisting. And inhale, exhale, release your tree pose. We'll ground that pose with the chair pose. Hold. Inhale, exhale, start to release. Forward fold, inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. Take your last vinyasa, step back into a plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog. And then we'll meet at a downward facing dog. And then release your knees down to the mat. Shift down into a child's pose. In that child's pose, your knees are either close together or towards the edges of the mat. Gather your breath. If you ever have trouble concentrating, again, just lengthen that inhale and exhale a little longer than you're accustomed to. One more generous breath. Inhale. Exhale. Release your child's pose. And then transition to a cross-legged position. Make any adjustments there to feel comfortable. Activate core, open chest, lie down, shoulders, spine is long. We'll start to lift our chin up towards the ceiling. Hold. And then release, chin towards the chest. Chin over your right shoulder. Go back to neutral. And then opposite shoulder. And now release your chin down towards your chest and then roll your head. Making a complete circle, opening up the throat. Inhale. Exhale. And start to bring your head back to neutral. We're gonna lift our arms, take our hands right behind our head and twist towards the left and towards the right, a couple of rounds. Either moving quickly between the left side and right side or hold in one side a little longer. And then after a couple of rounds, release. Hands onto our knees, shoulders up towards our ears, draw them down. And now lengthen our legs, core workout as we slowly release down towards the floor. Palms up towards the ceiling, slowly release, core workout, hold. Glutes are activated, core as well. And then drop your heels, drop your head, gather your breath, inhale here, exhale, side out. Bend both knees, both feet float off the floor. Grab your knees with your hands, rock to the left, to the right. The goal here is to massage around your tailbone and around your tailbone, lower back. Inhale. Exhale, release, both soles of the feet touch, knees are bent, hands frame your hips, palms up towards the ceiling. Soften the tailbone, open up the hips, and then gather deep belly breaths. These are the deep belly breaths you can go back to at any time throughout your day. And then once you've taken a few couple of deep breaths, refamiliarizing yourself with what it feels like to take a deep breath. We do need to practice that. Deep, long breaths. Once you've taken those few rounds, you can allow your breath to go back to its natural rhythm. And then we'll start preparing for our final resting pose, lengthening our legs, palms remain facing up towards the ceiling, framing your hips. This is a pose that teaches us the wisdom of slowing down, of doing nothing. In this pose, we're allowed to integrate our practice, to receive, to let go, and to integrate. Soften your forehead and jaw, neck, shoulders, down the length of your arms to your wrists, palms, fingertips. Soften and release the back, releasing the upper back, mid back, lower back to the area around the tailbone. And then release throughout the legs from the hips, behind the knees to your ankles and toes. Observe any thoughts and sensations, just noticing. We'll start to shift our attention back to our breath, inviting a generous and leisurely inhale and exhale. Start to restore some movement on your fingertips, your toes. You have the option of inviting a full body stretch, lifting your arms up overhead, interlacing your fingers, pointing your toes. You also have the option of turning your body to one side, allowing it to remain heavy and relaxed. Invite a generous breath, leisurely breath, inhaling fully, exhaling. And then after another breath or two, start to make your way up to your seated position, whatever that looks like for you. Do bring integrity to the pose by lengthening the spine. As we sit here, let's be appreciative of our process, our personal process. And notice that by welcoming our breath, we're welcoming ourselves, and that is an act of self-care and self-compassion. So we'll take our hands in front of our heart center, invite an intentional breath. Let's inhale here and exhale. And we'll seal the class in the tradition of yoga. We'll take our hands. The highest in me sees the highest in you. May we walk with each other in gratitude.